Arise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all.
It's real. It's actually real. After years of waiting and endless Reddit speculation, Elden Ring is finally here. And of course, with so much excitement around this game, that can only mean one thing. A lot of really angry social media discourse. Can't we ever have anything nice? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Giovanni Colantonio, and I'm here with my review of this year's biggest video game, FromSoftware's open-world action RPG epic, Elden Ring. You're going to hear a lot about this game this year. Developer FromSoftware is best known for creating the infamous Dark Souls series, which is about as polarizing as games get. The Souls games feature extremely challenging boss fights that require nothing short of perfection from players. Elden Ring is the evolution of that series, retaining Dark Souls' signature difficulty, but blowing everything up by throwing players in an expansive open world. So does it really live up to the impossible hype? We'll get to that, but first I want to know, do you plan on playing Elden Ring? What character class are you going to choose when you do? And if you refuse to get it, what bugs you about Dark Souls games? Drop a comment below, and while you're down there, why not give us a like and a subscribe if you want to see more video game content like this. Okay, let's get to it.
Oh yes, tarnished are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring?
Let's get the basics out of the way. In Elden Ring, you'll create a hero who sets out on an epic quest that takes them through the lands between, a fantasy continent with a golden giant Erd tree at the center of it. This is an action RPG where you'll fight massive bosses capable of killing you in 1 or 2 hits. Patience is the key to victory, as you'll need to learn an enemy's attack patterns and carefully strike at the right moment. Die and you'll lose all the runes you're carrying, which are used to level up your stats and buy items. Be warned, it is not easy. To be honest, Elden Ring is a bit of a tricky video game to review. For people who love Souls-like games, this very well may be the greatest video game of all time. It's the kind of thing that you'll hear gamers praise for decades to come, like Final Fantasy VII or The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. But if you hate Dark Souls, you're going to think the world is playing a very, very rude prank on you here. The thing is that both sides of this debate are kind of right. Elden Ring is an astonishing, once-in-a-generation game that deserves a whole lot of praise. That said, it's got a lot of issues too that are hard to overlook entirely. So to properly review this game, I'm going to confirm everyone's bias and break this down from both sides. That way, nobody and everybody will be happy. Surely that won't start any fights, right? Right? Let's start with the positive. In this side of my one-man debate, allow me to play the role of a Dark Souls fan. Elden Ring is perfect. 10 out of 10. End of video. Okay, maybe that's too far with my method acting, but really, Elden Ring is just about everything a fan could want from a FromSoftware game. Right off the bat, the combat is a big highlight here. The appeal of these games has always been the sense of mastery you get when you boil a difficult boss fight down to a science and slice down a gigantic, gruesome monster like a soft salami. What makes fights in Elden Ring especially great is that the game gives you so many options when it comes to creating a character. The world is filled with weapons, shields, tools, and spells that can radically change the way you play. Elden Ring really rewards you if you're willing to experiment rather than stick to one familiar build. Anytime I'd get stuck on a boss, I'd usually head back into the open world and start playing around with new weapons or tools that could give me an edge in battle. That led to several eureka moments that had me returning to a boss that previously wiped the floor with me and thoroughly embarrassing them. Get good, Pumpkinhead. I especially love the role magic plays in this game. Spellcasting has always been an option in Dark Souls games, but there's even more of it here. You can summon a pack of wolves, shoot a bolt of energy, or perform a special magic attack by equipping ashes to your weapon. All of those things add more flexibility to the combat and can even alleviate some of the game's difficulty if you build your loadout right. Of course, for the masochist, you can still strip off all your clothing and try to parry attacks with a dinky shield if that's what makes you happy. You strange, strange person. Now, great combat wouldn't mean much if you didn't have some great enemies to cut down too, and Elden Ring really delivers on that front. This game is loaded with creative monster designs, with no two fights feeling the same. The way I beat the horseback riding tree sentinel and this fire-spitting dog statue were completely different. Even when the battles get tough, I simply love discovering a new boss and seeing what kind of deranged ideas FromSoftware has in store for me. Sometimes I worry about these developers, but I thank them all the same. Now, in terms of performance, you're going to get some super fast load times, especially on PS5, which means you won't have to sit through any boring loading screens when you die. And that's great news, because you will die a lot. You're also going to want to play in performance mode here, because you're going to need all the frames you can get. I did notice a few graphical issues in that mode though, including some shadow hiccups or some pop-in, but overall, it's a pretty smooth experience. Just don't go in expecting the same level of quality as the PS5 Demon's Souls remake. This is very much a high-end, last-generation game. So, if you love Dark Souls, you'll undoubtedly love Elden Ring too. There's more freedom, more build potential, and more bizarre bosses for you to fight. Everyone happy so far? Well, here comes the buzzkill. If Dark Souls has never really clicked with you before, you are in for a bad time, my friend. There's more flexibility in Elden Ring, but it's still a pretty demanding game. For a long time, players have asked for games like this to include an easy mode to let them experience the game without the punishment. Honestly, I don't think FromSoftware needs to add a difficulty slider to its games. It needs someone to grab them by the face and tell them to make a functioning camera. For the love of God, it is 2022 and I'm still struggling to see what is happening on screen. There's nothing I love more than fighting a big dragon and having the camera fuse into its body, effectively showing me nothing of use. Or who doesn't love suddenly rolling into a wall you couldn't see so a knight can pick you off with ease? This is all fine. The truth is that fans have learned to love FromSoftware's games in spite of themselves. It's like a teenager drinking cheap beer for the first time and learning to muscle through the taste. From an outsider perspective, these are kind of sloppy games. I mean, attacks clip through walls, enemy hitboxes are hard to predict, and sometimes you'll just die if an enemy so much as brushes up against you. These are the kind of archaic design quirks that I was hoping would be fixed with a next-gen Souls games, but nothing has really changed on that front. There's also a few systems that are new to this game that end up feeling a little underbaked. There's a whole crafting component, but it ends up feeling like an arbitrary way to fill blank parts of the world with resources. There's also horseback combat, and oh boy, folks, you'll never want to look at a horse again after trying to grapple with that system. For all those reasons, and more, I can see exactly why someone wouldn't like this game at all. It demands perfection from players, but refuses to be perfect itself. In any fight that gave me trouble, it felt more like I was fighting clumsy technical quirks than a giant creature. If things like that have turned you off from Dark Souls historically, they're probably going to annoy you here too. So we've heard both sides of the debate here, but in all honesty, neither really gets at what's actually special about Elden Ring. It's not the giant bosses or the RPG customization that makes this a great game. It's actually the exploration. Honestly, Elden Ring has the best open world I've experienced in a game since, yeah, you guessed it, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This isn't your typical RPG world with talkative characters and villages handing out quests. No, this is very much the dreary, eerie world of Dark Souls on a much bigger scale. What's so alluring is that there's a real sense of discovery no matter where you go. This game doesn't give you a laundry list of objectives to chase like a Ubisoft game. It actually really doesn't tell you anything at all. Instead, it's up to you to poke around the lands between and find all of its little secrets. I'd compare it more to Skyrim, where you'll stumble into random caves and find some game-changing loot hidden inside. That experience is consistently rewarding and made me actually want to explore every corner of the world. Honestly, I think you could play this game for dozens of hours without ever fighting an enemy and still walk away pretty satisfied. I mean, it's not like the central story is that exceptional or anything. Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin worked on it, but his contribution mostly seems to be just making up fantasy location names. And look, I could have done that for a lot less money. Here, Rudlavik, the Sun Nation, Dragon's Roost, Dragon's Discount Dollar Store. Look, I can do this all day. If you're seeing a lot of praise about Elden Ring right now, but are skeptical about it, I still recommend giving it a try. This really is a pretty astonishing video game, even with its problems. I don't typically like Souls games myself, but even I was completely won over here. After 60 hours, I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface, and I can't wait to see what other secrets await me in the lands between. I hope it's not more poisonous swamps. It's probably more poisonous swamps. Hey, thanks for checking out our review of Elden Ring. What do you think? Did we miss something? Any games you're excited about that you want to see us review? Well, let us know in the comments below, and while you're down there, I've got 2 videos right here waiting for you.